Hi everyone, happy Friday. Here's some of what's heading your way tonight. Your news at 9.
It's been over a month since Leora Hardy, a Joplin teen, went missing. Tonight, the community is coming together to pray for her safe return. I'm Kate Kelly with that story just ahead.
Students who normally would be considered a COVID-19 close contact will no longer have to quarantine in Crawford County. I'm Zach Dodge with Why. Coming up.
Treatment options are expanding, but there's still no end in sight to this new surge in coronavirus cases. I'm Jonathan Seri in Atlanta. I'll have details coming up.
Doug Heddy has weather. This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Aubie. The McDonald County Sheriff's Office is now working with the DNA testing agency to try to identify the body of a woman found 30 years ago, dubbed Grace Doe. These are an artist's renderings of what Grace Doe might have looked like. Authorities say her body was found in December of 1990 by a couple walking along Oscar Talley Road near Lanigan. She had been tied up using 6 types of bindings, including a military-grade paracord. Investigators say they used to think Grace Doe and her abductor were from the area, but based on dental work Grace had done, they now believe she was from a bigger city. They believe she was 21 to 31 years old. Authorities are now hoping that DNA testing will provide a break in this case. Pineville, Missouri woman is dead after a crash yesterday afternoon on Highway 71 about a mile south of Jane. Police say 35-year-old Jessica Reed pulled into the path of a truck heading south. The truck crashed into Reed's vehicle. She was taken to the hospital where she later died. Reed's 8-year-old passenger and the driver of the truck are in serious condition at last report. 26-year-old Tulsa man is dead after a crash in Mays County. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol is investigating what caused the wreck that killed Jose Torres Garcia. No one else was hurt. Former Pitt State basketball player is dead after a shooting outside a Wichita sports stadium. Authorities believe this man shot and killed 31-year-old Marquel Nolan at a youth football game Wednesday night. Police say the shooting stemmed from an ongoing feud and was not related to the game. Nolan was the 2013 MIAA Defensive Player of the Year, his final season at Pitt State. It's been over a month since 14-year-old Leora Hardy went missing from her home in Joplin. Authorities have followed up on over 120 leads, but with no answers in sight, Leora's family and the community are praying for a miracle. KOAM's Kate Kelly reports.
Huddled against the wind and cold, dozens of people gather together to lift up Leora Hardy's family, praying that wherever she is, she's warm and safe. Even though the family is heartsick with worry over the young teen, they're thankful for this support.
It means a lot. It gives me peace to know that people are out there looking and praying, and it really means a lot to me and my family.
Without the community, we would be more lost than we are right now.
So far, despite aid from local and national agencies, including the FBI, police say there are no new developments in Leora's case. She was last seen in her neighborhood in the area of D Street and North Wall Avenue on September 17th. With each passing day, family and friends grow more anxious.
If it was my child, I would want as many people as possible here to support me and looking for my child.
Yellow ribbons and missing posters line the street where Leora disappeared, a painful reminder for the many people who miss her.
The yellow ribbon symbolizes her being gone, and we plan on wearing it until she is found or she returns home.
We need reminders. We need to keep her face out there and keep the faith that someone will see her and do the right thing and bring her home.
Leora's family hopes this message gets back to her and these lights will help guide her home.
We all need to know that she's okay and safe.
In Webb City and Joplin, Kate Kelly, KOAM News.
If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Leora Hardy, you are being asked to contact the Joplin Police Department. City of Independence, Kansas declared a water emergency and adopted citywide water conservation measures. Declarations follow orders from the state to reduce usage from the Verdigris River because of severe drought conditions affecting the river. Under the declaration, outdoor water use is prohibited, excluding water used to care for livestock or pets or for commercial use. City officials say restriction orders will be updated every Friday. Jasper County Health Department is reporting 8 more COVID-19 related deaths. The deaths brings the total in Jasper County to 50 deaths. Newton County has reported 30 deaths. Joplin, which reports separately from the counties, is reporting 34 COVID-19 deaths. That's a total of 114 deaths since this pandemic began. The 8 additional deaths reported today include 4 women in their 80s, 1 man, and 3 women in their 90s. Officials in Crawford County, Kansas approved changes allowing students who would normally have to quarantine to go to school. KOM's Zach Dodge has these details.
Students and parents in Crawford County are going to see a pretty big change starting next week. Middle and high school students who are classified as low risk but have had close contact with a COVID-19 case in the classroom will no longer have to quarantine.
Really, the main benefit is we're not negatively impacting a person with quarantine, that we have little or no concerns that they're going to become positive for COVID-19.
County Health Officer Timothy Stebbins explains since school started 9 weeks ago, there's been 94 students who have tested positive for the virus. Through contact tracing, there's been more than 1,200 students who have had to quarantine because they were a close contact. But no students have tested positive as a result of classroom exposure.
Anytime you go to remote learning, it's still not the same as what it would be in the classroom. And so we know that the best environment is to be in that classroom.
Stebbins explains that all of the mitigation strategies will continue, such as wearing masks and hand washing, and that students will still be monitored. They will also continue to quarantine students who do extracurricular activities and are considered high risk. And parents will have the option of keeping their student home for the quarantine period if they want to, without it counting against them. But they're moving forward immediately with the goal of keeping as many kids in school as possible.
94 isolations or ill people in the schools, 1,200 plus quarantines, 0 transmission in the setting of the classroom. That's pretty good data.
We really hope that we're going to be able to keep students in our buildings more in a safe environment and not have to be out of the building when they're wanting to be there.
In Crawford County, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
The policy change does not impact students in elementary schools because they have already been under a modified quarantine plan. The new surge of coronavirus cases is ramping up across the country, with more confirmed cases skyrocketing in COVID-19 hotspots. But help could be on the way in the form of a new treatment just approved by the FDA. Fox News correspondent Jonathan Siri has more now from Atlanta.
It's a sobering number, more than 75,000 new coronavirus cases added Thursday, some 10,000 more than the day before, underscoring the difficulty of containing this new surge. At least 15 states are now seeing spikes of 20% or more over the past week, leading to long wait times at testing sites in coronavirus hotspots like New York City, where lines have been around the block at facilities with rapid testing kits.
To me, it's worth waiting 45 minutes or an hour rather than maybe coming to a shorter line but then waiting 3 to 5 days.
The new surge prompting a number of cities and states to announce new containment measures. In Chicago, COVID cases have risen by 54% in just the past week, so officials are imposing a 10 p.m. curfew on all restaurants.
Socially distanced, kind of a fun dinner party vibe late night, and we had a couple great weeks with that, and now we're basically losing that completely at night.
Meanwhile, as work continues on a vaccine, the FDA has approved the first ever treatment for COVID-19. It's called remdesivir, and it works by tricking the virus into using the drug instead of its natural building blocks when it tries to replicate itself. Researchers say it's already helping to get patients out of the hospital.
Remdesivir was shown to improve recovery time of patients, 10 days compared to 15 days in the patients that did not receive remdesivir.
And as treatments improve, a new study shows death rates among hospitalized COVID-19 patients are declining significantly. In Atlanta, Jonathan Siri, Fox News.
KOM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time to honor one of our four-state heroes. Ralph French served in the U.S. Navy, earning several awards. We are proud to thank Chief Petty Officer Ralph French, a native of Joplin. He's tonight's four-state hero. Doug is next with a complete look at the forecast, and a bit later we're going to have the latest on the campaign trail following last night's presidential debate.
Definitely a big switch for us today weather-wise. It's crazy, about 40 to 45 degrees colder this afternoon than what we saw yesterday after we set record highs. And of course, we've been socked in with the clouds, had the light showers during the morning hours, just kind of a raw, nasty day. But it is Friday, so we're heading into the weekend. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, of course, our time lapse for you just outside of Seneca. Now, the rain was light, but we got some. 3/100ths of an inch, about 3/4 of an inch now for the month, which is good. And check this out, mid-80s yesterday, then the cold front. Dropped right through about 4 o'clock in the morning, and we really tumbled, and we've been sitting into the 40s since that point in time. That's where we sit right now, currently outside. 43 north winds at about 10 to 15. Humidity is at 71%. Most of us across the metro sitting into the lower 40s. We're not dropping very quick just due to the cloud cover, which is sticking around. But you can see 39 in Iola, 43 in Grove, Cassville at 41, Nevada also sitting at 41 degrees. And we've had these northerly winds all day long, still kind of breezy. We're still getting gusts near 20 miles per hour, so that makes it feel a little bit colder. We do have freeze warning in effect tonight in the purple, and then a frost advisory along and south of I-44. I don't really think it warrants a freeze warning tonight because I think we're going to stay several notches above freezing, but still we're going to have a pretty good frost across the region. Clouds sticking around. If these would break up a little bit, we could get a little bit lower tonight, but I think they're going to hang out pretty tough throughout the overnight hours. Here's our next storm system pulling into western parts of Montana. That's an interesting guy by the time we head into Monday and Tuesday of next week. So for us tonight, mid-30s. I'm going to say about 35, 36 degrees. But again, we could get a pretty good frost across the region. I think we'll get into lower 50s tomorrow, 50 to about 52. If we could get a little sunshine, maybe mid-50s. If it stays cloudy all day, probably only 48 or 49, but at least a little bit warmer than what we did see today. Clouds continue tomorrow night. Let's go into Sunday. Sunday's going to be cloudy all day. I think we'll briefly warm into the upper 50s, and then colder air will start to work in late Sunday, and we'll start to get some rain developing into the area, I think, by the evening hours. So most of the weekend should be dry. Let's go into Sunday night and then into Monday morning. You can see the rain increases. Look at our temperatures start dropping into the 30s. This is all snow. As we work through the daytime hours on Monday, we should get cold enough that we switch over to sleet or possibly even snow. This is still 3 days away, but there's going to be some accumulations out there, especially along and north of Interstate 44. So that's something we want to watch over the next couple days. 52 tomorrow, 58 on Sunday, rain late, rain, sleet mixing with snow on Monday and Tuesday, high temps only into the middle 30s, which is kind of crazy. Jordan?
Thanks, Doug. Coming up, the final countdown.
The presidential contenders go their separate ways on the campaign trail just after their final debate. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington as we are just 11 days away from the election.
The candidates have shared a stage for the last time this election season, and now they're making their final pitches to voters ahead of Election Day. Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard is in D.C. now with more.
There's a key difference in this campaign between Donald Trump and me. I believe in testing.
Fresh off the debate stage and back on the campaign trail, former Vice President Joe Biden continues to try to present himself as a calm and steady leader compared to President Trump's more controversial style.
As president, I'll mandate mask wearing in all federal buildings and all interstate transportation because masks save lives, period.
But Biden's campaign is also on defense, trying to clarify comments he made Thursday night about eventually moving away from the oil industry.
Joe Biden is not going to ban fracking. He is going to deal with the oil subsidies, but that's the president likes to put everything out of context.
Meanwhile, from the Oval Office, President Trump congratulated himself on his less combative debate performance.
This is obviously a more popular way of doing it. And no, I think I wanted to play by the rules.
The president is in Florida this weekend, a must-win state for his campaign. He remains confident Republicans will win big at the polls.
It's going to be a great red wave like you've never seen before.
The two vice presidential candidates also busy talking to voters. Senator Kamala Harris in Georgia, while Vice President Mike Pence early voted in Indiana.
Great honor and great to be back home again.
Then campaigning in Ohio,
where Joe Biden is talking about shutting down the economy. We are opening up America again.
President Trump plans to stay in Florida overnight and vote in person on Saturday. That's the same day former President Obama will also be campaigning in Florida. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Just ahead, Judge Amy Coney Barrett's nomination process advances.
Senate Democrats made one last attempt to stop the Supreme Court nomination of Judge Amy Coney Barrett. I'm Ray Bogan with a look at when we may see the final vote coming up.
Senators on Capitol Hill are preparing for a momentous weekend as they begin the process to confirm Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the U.S. Supreme Court. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell remains confident he has the votes needed. Democrats are voicing outrage about how close this is happening to the election. Fox News correspondent Ray Bogan reports.
The doors will be closed.
Democrats made one last attempt to stop Judge Amy Coney Barrett's Supreme Court nomination by going into a closed session.
We're not going to have business as usual.
Despite the effort, the Senate is on track for a confirmation vote Monday.
I believe the Senate majority is on the precipice of making a colossal and historic mistake. By rushing this nomination through the Senate only 8 days before a national election.
Every new escalation, every new step, every new shattered precedent, every one of them was initiated over there. No exceptions.
Based on senators who have expressed their support, Judge Barrett's confirmation may be approved by a single vote. She needs 51, the exact number who say they support her.
What Republicans in the Senate are doing now is packing the court by changing the rules in the United States Senate.
Well, they're rolling over because they can see that they've lost. They can see that President Trump is still in office. We still have a Republican majority.
The final vote on Barrett is expected Monday night. Ray Bogan, Fox News.
Toy sales pointing to something good happening during this pandemic. Gonna explain when we come back. This election season in particular has created some sharp divides in the country, even among friends, family, neighbors. However, not everyone is so heated over their views. KOM's Chris Warner talked with an expert for some tips on how to keep your political views in check and your relationships intact.
Signs, everywhere signs. That's the theme song of every election year. This year, those signs, the debates, and posts on social media are driving people to points of anger and frustration. For Republican Gerald Gilman, even Congress is pushing him to the edge, which he says seems to be a theme across the country with people's political views.
You know, difference of opinion, and, well, I'm not going to do this because you don't do this or whatever. And that's just totally ignorant, stupid to me, and it upsets me, and I know there's a lot of people in the country that are like that, and hoping it'll change.
Gilman says he enjoys talking both sides of the aisle to make sure he's well informed. Tanya Richardson is a Democrat who, just like Gilman, is hoping things change. Her dad is a Republican, her mom a Democrat, so she's open to all views.
If someone who is on the opposite side strikes a conversation with me, I hear them out, I tell them how I feel. And, a lot of times we actually kind of think closer than, what maybe it seems to be.
She says if someone was in trouble, you wouldn't stop first and ask them what party they are, you'd help.
And I think we lose sight of that at times when we are in those political discussions.
Ivy Littles is a therapist from the Ozark Center. She says it's all about taking care of you.
Maybe just establishing boundaries and outlaying with some of your friends and saying, hey, let's get together tonight, but how about we don't talk about this? And then if we do, could we have some ground rules with that? Going back to basic, just elementary school rules.
Little says it's important to know what your tipping points are, and if you feel yourself getting worked up, just walk away. I'm Chris Warner for KOAM News.
Little says it's the same advice for any situation at home or at work, even on social media, to establish those boundaries and whenever possible, just take a break from it all. Last week, the Freedom from Religion Foundation sent a letter of complaints to the Jasper 5 school district over reports that a football coach led players in prayer before games. The school district has now responded, saying they can't share the results of their investigation, but staff members were reminded of the district's policy of not leading students in or promoting prayer, adding the matter has been resolved. You can read the full response on our website. See it right there, KOAMNewsNow.com. A special exhibit, 40 years in the making, is open now at Pitt State. It features the sports artwork of Ted Watts, a man who was from Oswego, Kansas. Throughout his career, he produced more than 1,200 illustrations for magazines, books, game day programs, also media guides.
He does inspire a number of people who have wanted to go into sports-themed artwork. And there, I'm sure, are a number of opportunities for people to actually continue on his tradition and legacy.
Ted Watts passed away back in 2015 at the age of 72. The exhibit at Pitt State is in the Special Collections and University Archives. A store in Joplin called Daily Deals Bargain Bins has been seeing long lines because of selling all items at prices as low as 50 cents. But the products in the store on a given day are as much of a surprise to customers as they are to the owner. We sent KOAM chief photojournalist Ty Parks there to see what they're offering and if consumers should be cautious.
A new truckload of items every week. We never know what the items are going to be, so it's always, kind of fun to open the truckloads. The majority of everything does work. We get a lot of things that have never been opened. Some things have been returned. We have a testing area that we are more than happy to open and let people inspect their items. We have electrical outlets that us associates will test the items for the customer so they can see if it works or not before they leave.
I have found a ton of items for the classroom, sensory items, carpet spots, treasure box items for my students for rewards. Right now, one of the biggest things that's helped, our occupational therapists have ordered products such as pencil grips, chair bands. I have found items that are on back order. I have found them here and have been able to immediately get those items into the classroom, into the students' hands.
Better Business Bureau just wants you to be very cautious when you're making purchases. If you realize walking in there that there is not a return policy, then you just know that whatever you're buying, if it works at the store, maybe you take it home, maybe suddenly it doesn't work the second time you try it, you just can't take it back.
The store only allows 45 people inside at a time. Colorado crews are battling the largest wildfires in state history as the East Troublesome and Cameron Peak fires continue to burn. But poor weather conditions are making it difficult for crews to contain these flames. Fox News correspondent Alicia Acuna has more.
More than 60 large fires are still burning throughout the West, with dry weather and high winds threatening to fuel flames in Colorado. Hundreds of crews are trying to contain the East Troublesome fire in Grand Lake. Officials say the weather conditions have made spreading retardant difficult, forcing crews to battle the flames with a limited air attack.
They're trying hard, but it's a real challenge because the retardant doesn't stay together. It blows apart with the wind.
The fire quickly expanded in size Wednesday night, burning through more than 170,000 acres. Mandatory evacuations are in place for more than 6,500 homes. The fast-moving flames caught many residents off guard.
It's unfortunate that this happened, obviously, but the community's come together. Everybody has tried to help each other.
All I can think of is all the things I need: prescriptions, coats, pictures.
The East Troublesome fire is now the second largest in state history. The biggest is the Cameron Peak fire, which remains roughly 55% contained. Just this year, Colorado has seen its 3 biggest fires. Crews hope this weekend's forecast of cold weather and snow will provide some relief.
It's been a very steady stream of hot, dry, and windy weather this summer. The fuels have just not been tolerant to that.
So far this year, more than 8 million acres have burned across the United States. In Denver, Alicia Acuna, Fox News.
A bit later, what you need to know before getting those new iPhones.
The super fast iPhone 12 test drive. I'm Kurt the Cyber Guy. What I learned living with Apple's jump to 5G speed and the one big carrier giving them away for free. For real, coming up.
Definitely a big switch for us today weather-wise. It's crazy. About 40 to 45 degrees colder this afternoon than what we saw yesterday after we set record highs. And of course, we've been socked in with the clouds, had the light showers during the morning hours, just kind of a raw, nasty day. But it is Friday, so we're heading into the weekend. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, of course, our time lapse for you just outside of Seneca. Now, the rain was light, but we got some. 3/100ths of an inch, about 3/4 of an inch now for the month, which is good. And check this out, mid-80s yesterday, then the cold front. Dropped right through about 4 o'clock in the morning, and we really tumbled, and we've been sitting into the 40s since that point in time. That's where we sit right now, currently outside. 43 north winds at about 10 to 15. Humidity is at 71%. Most of us across the metro sitting into the lower 40s. We're not dropping very quick just due to the cloud cover, which is sticking around. You can see 39 in Iola, 43 in Grove, Cassville at 41, Nevada also sitting at 41 degrees. And we've had these northerly winds all day long, still kind of breezy. We're still getting gusts near 20 miles per hour, so that makes it feel a little bit colder. We do have a freeze warning in effect tonight in the purple, and then a frost advisory along and south of I-44. I don't really think it warrants a freeze warning tonight because I think we're going to stay several notches above freezing, but still we're going to have a pretty good frost across the region. Clouds sticking around. If these would break up a little bit, we could get a little bit lower tonight, but I think they're going to hang out pretty tough throughout the overnight hours. Here's our next storm system pulling into western parts of Montana. That's an interesting guy by the time we head into Monday and Tuesday of next week. So for us tonight, mid-30s. I'm going to say about 35, 36 degrees. But again, we could get a pretty good frost across the region. I think we'll get into lower 50s tomorrow, 50 to about 52. If we could get a little sunshine, maybe mid-50s. If it stays cloudy all day, probably only 48 or 49, but at least a little bit warmer than what we did see today. Clouds continue tomorrow night. Let's go into Sunday. Sunday's going to be cloudy all day. I think we'll briefly warm into the upper 50s, and then colder air will start to work in late Sunday, and we'll start to get some rain developing into the area, I think, by the evening hours. So most of the weekend should be dry. Let's go into Sunday night and then into Monday morning. You can see the rain increases. Look at our temperatures start dropping into the 30s. This is all snow. As we work through the daytime hours on Monday, we should get cold enough that we switch over to sleet or possibly even snow. This is still 3 days away, but there's going to be some accumulations out there, especially along and north of Interstate 44. So that's something we want to watch over the next couple days. 52 tomorrow, 58 on Sunday, rain late, rain, sleet mixing with snow on Monday and Tuesday, high temps only into the middle 30s, which is kind of crazy. Jordan?
Thanks again, Doug. A COVID-19 vaccine may not be available just yet, but that has not stopped the state of Missouri from presenting the CDC with a vaccination rollout plan. KOM's Mike Mahoney spoke to the Jasper County Health Department administrator to learn how Jasper County is involved.
When a COVID-19 vaccine is approved and ready, the state of Missouri will also be ready. It recently presented the CDC with a vaccination rollout plan that puts healthcare workers at the front of the line. Next in line will be critical infrastructure workers, such as first responders and law enforcement, as well as Missourians at a higher risk for the coronavirus, which includes the elderly. The administrator for the Jasper County Health Department says the state is already looking into who might distribute a COVID-19 vaccine in the county.
They will start signing organizations like health departments, hospitals, and physicians' offices or pharmacies and things of that nature.
The health department administrator says it's too early to speculate who will be on the vaccine distribution list, but he suspects his health department will have plenty of partners.
You know, with the population of Jasper County, it would take the health department as the only distributor a long time to get that distributed. So there'll have to be we'll have to have alternate sites of distribution.
County residents who spoke to KOAM say they'll be taking the coronavirus vaccine when it's available.
If there was a cure for it, I wouldn't take the vaccine. But since there's not a cure for it, I do believe I would take the vaccine.
But not everyone was happy about the way Missouri is prioritizing who will be the first to get the vaccine.
I believe it should be available to everybody at, no matter what race, color, how much money you make or whatever, it should be available to everybody all at the same time.
In Jasper County, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
You can read the full copy of Missouri's vaccination plan on our website, KOAMNewsNow.com. Coming up, the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, previews this Sunday's game against the division rival Denver Broncos. Kansas City Chiefs are 5-1 to begin the season. Last week, they got a pretty sweet win over Buffalo, winning 26-17. This week, they're on the road again to face the Denver Broncos. Like every Friday night, it's time to hear from the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, in this week's Minute with Mitch.
This week, the Chiefs head to Denver looking for a 10th straight win in this series. Monday against Buffalo, injuries put the offensive line in a state of desperation. Nick Allegretti had to play left guard. He's only had a couple meaningful snaps in his first 2 years. Center Daniel Kilgore only played 4 placement snaps in the first 5 games. And eventual right tackle Mike Remmers had to start at left guard, a position that Remmers had no career regular season starts prior to the Buffalo game. The result, the best rushing attack in Andy Reid's 22 years as a head coach. How many times in sports or other areas of life does a crisis create urgency and this primal response of adrenaline? In the NFL, that adrenaline wears off, and your opponent studies your every move. This week against Denver, it's not about adrenaline. It's about consistency on this Minute with Mitch. The Minute with Mitch is brought to you by Como Jewelry. Every day's game day, Como Jewelry, Pittsburgh, Joplin.
Sunday's game will begin at 3:25 on our sister station, KOAM. Back with more news after this. Fastest iPhone launched today. The cyber guy, Kurt Knutson, spent the week using the iPhone 12 Pro, and he tells us about those super fast speeds we've been hearing about and how to work the wireless carrier wars to snag one of the new phones for free.
This test drive in advance of the official release went on for days, putting what's new for the iPhone through its paces. What you notice right off the bat is speed. 5G is fast. I mean, really fast where you can find it. Wireless carriers are going to war to lock you into nationwide 5G service, even going as far as making the iPhone 12 free.
Yes, one of these offers, you can get an iPhone for free. With a trade-in of an iPhone 8 or newer on AT&T, you can get up to $800 off, which essentially, because one of the phones is $799, that will cover that.
Apple's VP of iPhone center stage going over the highlights of the fastest iPhone ever made. 4 iPhone 12 models all share a tougher outside made of what Apple calls ceramic shield to survive 2 to 4 times better in a drop. Watch what happens with the new magnetic system called MagSafe on the back. It makes snapping with built-in magnets like this wallet open a new billion-dollar world of accessories, including faster wireless charging. On the inside, a faster processor, improved way of managing speed, power, and the battery, and a nano-sized love fest of machine learning that makes things like the camera system take better pictures, especially at night. By far the biggest advancement, 5G, the next generation of super fast wireless. The cell phone industry needed Apple to take the iPhone to 5G. Apple needed the wireless companies to make 5G widespread. Critics, and especially about a third of Americans that live in parts where 5G is yet to be turned on, wonder if 5G matters at all.
They are rolling out 5G in more places every week with expected more deployments towards the end of the year. So a few things. So if you don't have 5G right now, it may be coming to you, and you can check with your carrier on that.
Starting at $799, I'm calling this the most worthwhile iPhone upgrade in years. 2 of the iPhone 12 models are available today. Check out my post at cyberguy.com to see what 5G coverage might be near you. I'm Kurt the Cyber Guy for Fox News.
Coming up, some ideas for virtual Halloween parties this year. There are plenty of ways to have a virtual Happy Halloween this year with online events, also activities. We take a look at some of those ideas, plus how people are getting creative with trick-or-treating social distanced. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
Spine-tingling, blood-curdling.
Getting into the spirit of things virtually this Halloween could include a ghost tour from home.
It is terrifying.
U.S. Ghost Adventures has live streaming and pre-recorded on-demand tours of more than 20 cities. Watson Adventures has an online Halloween scavenger hunt. Dark Zone Network's 4-day live-streamed Queen Mary Live, a virtual haunt and music fest, features stars from Friday the 13th and Supernatural.
We shall be back!
Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy reunite for In Search of the Sanderson Sisters, a Hocus Pocus Halloween takeover October 30th to benefit the New York Restoration Project. Netflix's Magic for Humans star Justin Willman is hosting Halloween editions of his interactive at-home show.
Trick or treat!
Social distance trick-or-treating is getting getting creative. In some areas, people made 6-foot chutes to give out candy. Hershey's created a Reese's trick-or-treat door. Break out the seasonal decor for a Monster Mash with the family at home.
Halloween is not only falling on a Saturday, it also falls on a full moon.
Fun ideas can be found around the house.
You could even hire a professional tarot card reader and have them on Zoom, building a fort with your family or whomever you are quarantining with in your bubble, because that just makes it kind of spooky. You could go ghosting, essentially. So I'm not talking dating world, Ashley. I'm talking about knocking on the door and leaving a package of customized treats for a friend, for a neighbor, with a note that says pass it on, just to kind of send those good vibes.
And make it a movie night with several new scary movies out, or have a marathon of your favorite Halloween classics. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
Some of those ideas seem pretty cool. That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Going to leave you with video of elephants stomping on some pumpkins at the Oregon Zoo. Getting rid of some frustration, I guess. Yeah! Come on, use that muscle, buddy. Come on, come on. Have a great weekend. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.